All right, we're live on Graders Notes. Welcome to my channel, Mr. Miracle Comics. My name is Dave. I am hosting Graders Notes again for this the second time this month. Tonight we did a little switcheroo here. We were going to do the Incredible Hulk Volume 3, number 95, which is like the big fight between Silver Surfer and the Incredible Hulk in the Planet Hulk storyline. Unfortunately, that book is either impossible to find or people are asking way too much money for it. So Audible was called. Okay, let's make the switcheroo. This was done yesterday, I believe, yesterday morning over Instagram, where we flipped and decided to pick a book that all of us tended to have, except for one individual who you can see on the screen is only half-heartedly. No, I'm kidding. Dave's just gone off running to get his book. However, we all had the issue of Fantastic Four 243, so we changed it up and we switched it over. And here we go. Hey, I'm gonna make myself big. It's my channel. How do I do that again?
There you go.
Anyways, regardless, we switched it to this guy. Oh, there's a bigger. Which is a John Byrne classic from 1982. As you can see from the cover, our antagonist is definitely going to be the Big G himself. This is smack dab in the middle of Byrne's taking over of the Fantastic Four. Some say he saved the Fantastic Four, and it was some of the best writing of any comics in the 80s. Was it? Shall we find out? Burns, not only did he write the story, also illustrated it and did the cover illustrations. So Byrne's fingerprints are all over this thing. John Byrne. Byrne, am I saying it wrong? You making fun of me in the background there, Metarog. Fine.
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Let me introduce Metarog first. Our gentleman of the 80s persuasion. I'm sure that, as a teen, he bought this comic book directly off the shelf. Big fan of John Byrne, I know. Mr. Metarog, please introduce yourself and tell us about how you feel tonight's show is going to go.
Well, thank you very much, Dave, for that introduction. Thank you for the teen part. I really like that part. Yes, I was a teen still when this came out, believe it or not. And yes, I did buy this, right? I believe this is a newsstand version, so I must have gotten this at the 7-Eleven at the time. I thought I had gotten it at the LCS, but this is my original copy. And I think this is going to go swimmingly, guys, because, yes, I'm a big Byrne fan. And, as an artist, he is very few peers in that realm. But as a writer, let's see what you guys think. Remember, this is one of really his first big project that he wrote for Marvel. I mean, he had a few little bits here and there. So I am very interested to see what you guys think about this one.
Sorry for the noise, guys. I'm getting everything squared away here.
All right. Thank you, Roger, for that little introduction from yourself. Of course, you were a teen. We always tease you about your age, sir, but we only to a point because we must respect our elders. All right. Also joining me all the way.
Is that a left-handed compliment, Dave?
Left-handed for sure.
I grew up in the Yukon. Up there, we were taught to treat our elders more better. So, anyways, everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. He needs no introduction. No macho head himself, Mr. Kenny Comic Head 84.
Hello, Dave, Mr. Miracle, and everyone out there in YouTube land. It's Graders Notes time. I just ran it when I was looking at Metarog's kind of setup there. I was like, I need to get something Galactus in the background. So I just ran to grab my Jimmy Boatwright original art piece that I put in the background. Man,
sweet.
I love this thing. Boatwright, man. What a great piece that you hooked your boy up with. So that's going to be in the background. Commemoration for Jimmy. And I'm pumped, man. I just picked this book up over the weekend at the con, so I was like, perfect. perfect. I'm excited to FF in Galactus, man.
Yeah,
For sure.
nice. Me too. Excited to talk about that. All right. And next we have, oh, how do we get this back? So we're all learning about StreamYard still here. All right. And next, joining us, the Wizard of Words himself, David. Genome Presents, our go-to timer and scholarly aficionado of comic books. Sir, how do you feel about the switch that was made, and how do you feel tonight's show is going to go?
Well, I am opposed to all change, so yes, I do not agree with it. No, I'm quite happy actually because I actually wasn't able to get a hold of the book we were originally going to look at. So this one I'm actually more interested to read anyway. So actually it didn't bother me in the slightest really. But besides, you only keep things different. If it's always so planned out and rigid, there's no room for interpretation. So I kind of dig it.
Yeah, spontaneity keeps the fire burning, huh, guys?
That's right.
Certainly
Well,
does
like I
a
was
marriage.
saying,
Keep it fresh.
I mean, we're trying to get this thing to work. Like,
And we have a star.
slow.
Miracle, you mind if I give the chat a
Absolutely.
little shout out, brother? Because
Heck, I
as
was
always,
about to ask you if you wouldn't
you know what I'm
mind.
saying?
Mr.
Graders Notes brings out the best in the community, in my humble opinion. First through Unruly Sim, my man, Immortal Biggie Shack, the champ, Hayabucha Libre, who was out hunting with MF Comics in Miami today. Looking forward to see what you guys picked up. Ben Compton in the house. Good to see you, sir. Rayman, the Silencer Man, in the house. Good to see you, man. Tim the Comic Collector, who pre-show his story about two large feral dogs loose on the street, and he's kind of navigating that situation. Good luck to you. Be safe. Heroes to Icons in the building. Bake the Snake. See Fabian nearby, I'm sure. The Gray Man. Raiders Notes alumni in the house. Javi Conquistadorks, 90 MF Comics. Hope I didn't miss anybody. And update on 84's lousy internet woes is I think I realized last night, because my stream was pretty clean last night when I was doing it from the PC here, is that my internet's not shitty. My laptop's a piece of dog shit. So that's fixable. So
There's a lot of
update coming
extra
soon on
flying
that.
around there in Kenny's house.
Yeah, I just gotta upgrade my hardware, brother. So I'm looking forward to that. So
Yeah, maybe a little hardware upgrade will help the Mr. Roboto fucking stream you always have going on there.
I know. I always feel like singing sticks every time he got on there. So.
I know.
Anyways, guys, all streaming issues aside, let's get into this issue. All right. So as usual, we always start with the cover. That's where the comic book starts, and always, in my opinion, that's what grabs your eye. And tonight, I'm going to start with Mr. Metarog. Roger, will you please let us here know exactly how you feel about this cover, sir?
Well, thank you, Dave, for putting me on the spot here right off the bat. I thought you said about the respect elder thing. What happened to that? Anyway, let's just keep going here. I'm up to the challenge here of going first and taking it on the nose. First of all, let me just say that unlike a lot of modern covers, this is actually pretty much truth in advertising, right? Notice it has over here to the left, this is it, right? And then you have everyone versus Galactus. Well, it's not everyone, but everyone pictured on the cover does actually is actually in this story and does have some kind of role in taking down Galactus. Spoilers there, right? There's a lot of action on here. Notice that there's a frenzy of activity, everybody using some of their abilities or powers to, in some way, try to tackle this Goliath from the galaxy. Galactus, you may say to yourself, well, he looks a little short, not really up to scale. Well, once you get into the story, you'll see why that is. And there's just a stark white background. I'm not crazy about it. I wish there was something more to contrast him, some kind of cityscape or some kind of starfield or something. But this is also something that happened in the issue that makes it a little bit more sense, although not while Galactus was down in Manhattan. So I don't like that aspect of it, but man, look at Byrne here, how well this is drawn, and look at the anguish on the face there, the anger, the angst, whatever it is. I mean, he is so good. Even though most of his face is behind that mask, you can tell that Galactus is straining here to a bit, which is again a portent to things to come in this issue. Again, I mean, some of the Doctor Strange looks a little bit thin there. Not really sure what's up with that. Some of the characters do look a little bit on the slight side, but the action is there. Galactus is well drawn, and the emotion is well done. Again, I'm not crazy about the background, and it could have been a little bit more, shall we say, better dialed in on some of the shapes. But overall, very good, excellent dynamics on the cover. I give this a 4.
4 for the cover, 4 from Roger. Let's just keep doing stuff like that. All right, that's a pretty high score. I mean, for this cover's, like Roger said, it's got a lot of white in there. However, opinions are opinions, and I'm looking for another opinion. And my next opinion is from you, Mr. Comic Head 84. Now, you told me you just bought this comic, so this cover must have caught your eye, sir. Please tell us, how did this comic book come into your possession?
Yeah, dig into it, brother. And I definitely have been aware of it, of course. It has been a book that I've been wanting to add to the FF collection. I just always, with it being a white cover, I've always come across like pretty low grade B copies. So, boom, found it. So I definitely cover. So it gets points for that. I dig the little sales lines. This is it. Everyone versus Galactus. Need we say more? I like that kind of stuff. You don't really get that anymore on the covers. So I thought that was cool. I also made a note about the, like Metarog said, the truth in advertising. This all goes down in the issue, which I appreciate. Sometimes you get the old bait and switch with a lot of comic book covers, but that's not the case here. I think the layout is nice. The overall concept is cool of get all the characters battling with Galactus at once. I definitely appreciate that. I think the anatomies of everyone's in a pretty cool Thor and Cap, Doctor Strange. I think Biggie Shack mentioned in the chat that Doctor Strange's cape looks really nice. Right, I agree. Mm-hmm. I think Mr. Fantastic, it doesn't really make sense. Like that's kind of a misstep. Like I would think he'd be coming out of the top of it. Kind of picture Galactus like grasping Mr. Fantastic, but it's kind of weird the way he's jutting out of his hand. But that's a real nitpick. The Thing looks a little off. One thing about this is when you draw characters this small on the cover, it's sacrifice the quality of the image, So I probably would have preferred a more zoomed in cover. Just show like his top torso. Character's a little more shine, I guess. But overall, I think it's fantastically laid out. And I think I mentioned I'm not a big background. I think they should have had a cityscape. But with all that being said, I'm right on the same page with Metarog. I think this is a 4 cover right here. Iconic, great laid out, but there's a couple flaws to it.
All right, good insights, Kenny. Thank you for sharing with us.
Nice.
Giving it a solid 4. Okay, so how are we looking at this from the more logical side? Let's go to our logic, on-the-spot logic correspondent, David. Genome Presents. Tell us how you feel about this cover.
Well, and unfortunately, I had to go dirty and do this one to digital, so I can't give it its full effluence there. But yeah, there's a like I got a laugh there. But let's I'm gonna go ahead and lead this one off. I've been neglecting my serviceable tag. I'm gonna have to give this cover a serviceable rating. A little more on that here in a minute. Roger, what's going on over there?
Sorry.
So yeah, we've already got the elephant in the room kind of out there, the white background. Let's just get right into it. Okay, that works for like null space or something, but he doesn't actually go into null space. And yeah, like Metarog said earlier, there's kind of a scene that kind of maybe alludes to what's going on there, but he wasn't fighting at the time. So really, I don't know if it was just a rush job or maybe the backgrounds because the color scheme was just too hard to put in there well. But I don't like the fact they just use a white background. It doesn't make the characters pop. I'll give it that, especially with the purple of Galactus. So it's almost like a pseudo 3D kind of cover just because of that. But yeah, it just seems incredibly lazy, especially since they're doing their fighting in a couple of really good spots that are worthy of a good background. So yeah, that part I didn't really dig too much. The characters look really good. Galactus is got to be a nightmare for any artist. As Metarog was saying earlier, you're seeing a diminished Galactus is one reason he's so small. But yeah, he's drawn really stumpy. But you just can't fit him in a panel if you don't draw him that way. So I mean, there's not much you can really do about it. I agree also with Kenny that maybe they should just shown a chest profile of him, from the waist up or something. And it also doesn't make any sense because Thor's at the bottom of his feet. You think he'd be up there at the chest height, duking it out with him up there up top instead of playing with his feet. Cap makes sense down there. I'm not sure why Doctor Strange is doing a drop kick a la Daredevil style onto him. You think he'd be back there casting a spell or something. So, just a lot of little nitpicks, but everything is drawn fairly well anatomy-wise. And I said, when you're messing with something with the scale of Galactus, it's really hard to get everything just so. So I'm going to go ahead and give it like kind of a middle-of-the-road grade. A little bit lower than my Steve colleagues, but I'm going to go with 2.5. It's a serviceable cover, but I think it left some to be desired.
2.5 serviceable cover. An interesting opinion. Some might differ. I mean, I've got a couple guys here on their panel that differ quite a bit. As for me personally, again, I have the same gripe with the plain back white background. I think that's a little lazy, especially, if you take a look at the interior art compared. Anyway, I've seen a lot better covers from Byrne. Byrne's always on point with his anatomy. It doesn't matter to him if the guy's big, small, whatever. I think one of my best memories of like seeing a scene with Galactus in it with a whole bunch of other characters is at Secret Wars, where all the villains are lined up and you just see one of Galactus's boot. So that's it's pretty funny. I mean, I understand why he'd want the Fantastic Four here and Thor down here, right? This is their book. So obviously he wants the Fantastic Four front and center of the cover fighting Galactus, right? You always want your character's book to be, them to be the star of their book. And yeah, it's definitely going to tell you everything that you need to know about this issue. It's pretty much got all the superheroes in here. There's a couple that are surprises on the interior still. However, like I said, I've seen better Byrne covers. Even though I love Galactus, but yeah, I gave it a little better than Genome, and I gave it a big fat 3. Again, because I think this background is lazy. He could have easily, even putting in a space, even black with stars would have been better. Anyway, Solid 3 from Mr. Miracle.
All right.
All right. So next, I want to hear your grades out there. All right. We're going to turn the grading over to the chat. We'll let the grades roll for a few minutes. The graders, notes guys, and I are just going to talk amongst ourselves and answer chat questions during this period. So please go ahead and put your score out of 5 in the chat now.
Don't you think that some of the characters
And,
look
I
like just a
realized,
bit thin? Oh, sorry.
No,
What
go
are you
ahead,
saying, Roger?
I was just thinking that that some of the characters, look at Thor's waist. I mean, he looks kind of odd and thin to me. Same thing with Cap and Doctor Strange. They just look kind of unusually thin to me. Is that just me, or
That's just Burn. Burn draws everybody thin like that. Draws everybody thin, and then with only just like a nose, no like bridge.
Well, I thought you guys, because of you guys are such big fans of Scrawny Conan a few weeks back. I thought you'd be
I wasn't.
man?
He was
that
anorexic,
elephant
dude.
memory, I tell you.
I like the way Burn draws Doctor Strange.
I like everything about Doctor Strange except that he just looks a little thin. That's all.
Maybe that was
well, it's the Fantastic Four's book, and they should be on there. That Sue Storm just doesn't get any respect. Doesn't even, unless they're trying to say she's invisible.
Well, that kind of does make sense with the story inside, though.
Yeah,
I will say that much.
Remember what she was up to at the beginning. That kind of put her out of the commission. So.
She's up to a whole lot of nothing in the book too, so that makes sense.
Now, as far as our narrow heroes on the cover, that might have been a conscious decision on Byrne's part to kind of make Galactus look a little bigger in the confines of the cover there. Maybe that was why. I don't know.
Okay, I guess that does make sense.
I'm just overanalyzing probably, but
or it could be me and just Dave is right. He does make his people look very athletic, very iconic, shall we say, but it just look a little bit too thin, especially Thor there. I mean, this is the god of thunder, who eats whole legs of animals and drinks mead. He shouldn't be that thin in the waist.
Well, Falstaff, I mean, he's pretty, or was that his name?
Volstagg.
Volstaff, yeah.
Volstagg, yeah.
Wrong lore, but yeah. He's ample and he's Asgardian, so maybe Thor had to watch his weight. Maybe he's letting himself go a little bit,
Maybe
he's on maybe he's on a Whole30 diet or something.
Okay, I think we've got enough scores in from the chat. Let's do it and add them up and then see where we're at here.
Kenny, you ready with the Portuguese abacus there?
Oh, yes, I am.
That was a little inside joke from what we were talking before. All right, Jason from Heroes to Icons comes in with a 4.5. The Gray Man, one of our founders, comes in with a 3.5. Steve Whiting, welcome. The AOK Master himself, 3.5. Rayman the Silencer Man, give it a 3. And that's a Bostonian guy right there, Kenny, with you. Unruly Simeon, subtracting 0.5 for the white background. I give it a 5. Well, that's unruly math right there. He still gives it a 5, even though he deducted. He gave it a 5.
Was it 5?
Yeah, he says he deducted a half a point, and he still gave it a 5. But that's unruly for you. TJ Slabdragon, welcome. We did not shout you out before. What's wrong with you people? That's one of my favorite Burns cover of all time. 5, Kenny, 5.
All right.
Immortal Biggie Shack. Biggie Shack, 2.5. He agrees with Genome. Wow. Do you guys have something going on? Okay. Tim Comic Collector, 3.5. A new channel here in our chat, Jurassic Coast Comics. Welcome. 4.5. I just subbed them up. Everybody else, please sub them up. Highly Comic Bro, 2.0. Not my favorite. Burn phoned it in. Ooh, Raul, harsh. JIB Comics, welcome also, 3.5. Chad, 90 MF, YouTube is 90, all that 90 stuff. He is 4.5, half of 90. Conquistador Javi comes in with a 3. Biggie Shack comes in with a 2. Hold on, didn't he vote already? Yeah, he went 2.5. Now he went 2. That's it.
Okay, lots
Oh,
of grades.
Lots of grades. Yeah, lots of good stuff in there.
Yeah, it's good to see Jurassic Coast Comics.
Oh, hold on. Last minute. Man Cave Comics with a 4.
Whoa,
Sorry there, Kenny.
Or is it too late?
Yeah, I've known Jurassic
With a
Coast for a
4.
while. He used to be retro collected, and him and I would talk and chat in our
Okay,
chat
cool.
all the time. All right, but let's move on to our second category.
Well, what's the grade?
What's that?
Yeah,
What's the grade?
Okay.
yeah.
Hooray,
Let's
yes,
announce
Kenny.
Jump the gun there, Dave.
the chat grade came to 3.7. So that
Ooh.
makes it a 4, right? We round up to 4.
Ooh, and
Well,
and
we have 5 to round up to 4.
let's remind our esteemed colleagues who had 4 on the cover, Kenny.
Yeah, the two of you.
You and I did,
Yeah.
sir. Yeah. The
Well said.
outliers
Great
are
point.
on the left of the screen.
There's
I'm
no
still
counting for
way
Dave.
ahead of points.
There. Oh, come on, guys. Don't be
All right.
sour grapes at this point.
Hey,
now.
it was serviceable. It wasn't bad. It just
Okay, that's 2 serviceables today. All right, let's go.
I want to hit 5. I got to work them in at random times. So
All
Time
right,
out
Dave,
on the
sorry. Go ahead.
Let's do our second category, which is always, well, not always, but it's going to be this time the interior of art, right? So we know Byrne did the cover, Byrne does the interior. This is, I don't know. We're gonna see, the difference here between the cover and the interior. And I'm gonna start it off with Kenny. Kenny, you've read this issue today, obviously, getting prepared for today's show. You must be very familiar with John Byrne art by now. Please let me know, how does the interior tickle your fancy?
I feel like this is John Byrne when he's at still just right around basically peak John Byrne is in this era. I think the book shows that. He's a master of drawing women, in my opinion. So the women look great in this book. The panels are clean. I feel like there's no clutter in the panels throughout. One of the favorite little touches is in the draw, and I don't know if this is credit to Byrne or the colorist, but the skin texture that they add to Terax is really cool. Granite kind of thing. One thing I will say about Byrne, though, is I'm not a big fan of how he draws Ben Grimm thing. Most of his work is so clean and refined, his pencil work, and I'm sure it's intentional, but I don't like the way that he draws the thing. But I love the way that he draws Galactus. Look at Galactus here, just like kind of in anguish, just kind of, he's weary, he's weak, he needs to eat a planet. And look how Byrne portrays that. You can see a weary Galactus. Amazing. There are, when you get towards the latter part of the book, which I'll kind of jump to. Oh, and also, I like always the way that he does Galactus's eyes, those little square pupils that he gives him. I always thought that was a cool touch for Byrne there with Galactus. You can say Thor was thin on the cover, but his breakfast right here in the panel, looking kind of swole, ready for action. So I think that's just more of, you sacrifice when you have to draw them so small, you start messing with proportions and stuff. And I'll leave stuff on the bone here for the boys, but I have to mention my favorite page of the book, one of the most iconic Galactus pages, period.
Mm-hmm.
The Galactus Falls page. Like, man, tremendous, because it's a big moment. Galactus doesn't fall, brother, very regularly. So I'm glad he made the decision that when that happened in the book, it got top billing, full page, action shot. It gives you the sense of the size of Galactus. If you tried to show the Galactus Falls in even half a page, you wouldn't get the scope of this towering giant falling, which he rarely does. So I think that was a really smart artistic move of saving this full page for Galactus dropping. It's like, man, what a flawless comic book splash page. Well, I love it. I don't have. I guess my only real critique was I just hate the way that he draws the Thing. Like, look how terrible he looks on that last page there. That's a pretty lousy thing. So that's one of my only gripes. Everything else, 4.5 on the interior art from me.
4.5 for the interior art. That's again high praise. You bought this book on purpose, sir. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, moving right along, Mr. Genome, how did you feel about the interior art of this here book?
Well, I'll be honest, it's a little hard to appreciate it on the screen of a phone. I tried to open my computer and it was just my virus software just went absolutely crazy. So it's like, no, I can't open it here. But yeah, what little I could see looked pretty damn good. Kind of reminiscent of like this actually, if this book reminds me of anything, it's like Crisis of Infinite Earths and that kind of art style inside. Kind of busier panel, a lot of dialogue, a lot of word bubbles, but it's all real clean, condensed, and there's this weird sense of depth in this book that once again characters seem to pop really well against the backgrounds here. So it's just, I don't know, it's pretty excellent and uniform all throughout. There's a page I really like. It's just real. You probably won't be able to see it here on the screen, but let's see. Let me switch it over here, where Galactus is staring at a star field, kind of just looking for this next meal, whatever. It's just, I don't know, it looks so good, man. There's like a billion stars there, and it's got all the characters in rear profile, and the scale is really, really done well there. So just like little things like that, I really enjoy about this book. Inks are spot on, which is kind of rare for back then. You know, everything's nice and clean within the pencil ticks and all that are all real visible. I don't know. I like it. It's real clean style. Kenny's right though. Thing looks like a compressed pile of compost, but with an orange coat of paint. But I mean, Thing is kind of weird because, like, you know, you can look at Captain America and know what a good Cap looks like. The Thing is kind of open to interpretation. You know, he's made out of rock, so he could be jagged one week, and you know, depending who's looking at him, he could be craggy. You know, but I know I kind of like it. Definitely an improvement over the cover itself. It doesn't do anything too amazing. Like, there's no, other than of course Galactus falling. There's no real huge like gotcha moment pages. No really good splash or anything like that. But so I give this one a little above average. I give it a 3. But it looks better than average for sure. If there's maybe a little more far away shots, so you can get a little more sense of scale at times, it might rate a little bit higher. But I give it a solid 3.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
All right. I don't even remember it. I can't even comprehend what you just said, sir. God damn it. Anyways, we're going to move on. I'm going to give it my grade on the interior here. Head and shoulders above the cover. I mean, there's so much detail. I mean, Byrne does have his obvious pages here where it's just a solid background, but they're really small, quick panels. Other than that, there's massive amounts of panels in this book that could easily be a splash page. Like, so many of them. You could tell Byrne was into Galactus. That whole page where he's building the machine, that's an amazing page. You know, this big Terax fighting with his axe here. Love that stuff. Man, interior arts. I mean, even the page setting up what Kenny was referring to as Galactus falling. That whole Boeing. Where am I going? I hate this camera some days. That whole Boeing right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of or I guess it says rowing. It looks like an R. I don't know if that's supposed to be a B. Where he springs off of Mr. Fantastic, and they essentially punch Galactus in the face with the Thing, right? So I mean, that's awesome, right? The interior art in this thing is way better than the cover. It is, I can tell that Byrne really, really loves Galactus. It's some of the better interior art I've seen Byrne do, right? Like this whole page here with Thor looking over top of Galactus. It's really cool. There's so many good pieces in here. Yeah, no, I think that this interior art is some of Byrne's best. Some of the best that I've ever seen him do. Better than a lot of the stuff he did on the X-Men. Better than stuff that he did for DC. And I mean, Byrne, like Kenny nailed it. John Byrne was at the height of his 80s powers when this book came out, man, and he was right into Galactus. And yeah, I had to give the interior art of this guy a solid 4.5, which is just about perfect, but there was a couple little half lazy panels. All that panel there where Galactus was screaming, man. Love that shit. Anyways,
Nice.
Mr. Miracle, 4.5 for the interior art.
Nice work.
All right, so we've come. What's that?
Nice work.
All right, so we've
Very
come around
nice.
to the salty dog, to the gentleman behind the camera. That'd be just, the mystery man of Graders Notes, Mr. Metarog. How did you feel about John Byrne in interior art?
All right. First of all, I want to just give you because you guys may be confused about the things look here. In a few issues before, Reed Richards for like the 20th time tried to turn him human. Notice that's Byrne in his Rocky form, but he failed, of course, to turn him human. And what happened is that he turned him into that. Okay, so that's why he looks all lumpy and kind of like a bunch of mashed potatoes, put together with cement. Okay, but
Yeah,
that is why he looks like that. That's not because Byrne doesn't know how to draw the thing, I guess is what I'm saying. So anyway, just a little information there. Guys, I mean, I think most of you guys were right on point here. I mean, you have to remember Byrne here is both the writer, penciler, and inker, and that's kind of synonymous to a singer-songwriter who plays, his own and sings his own song. The synergy here is just, just amazing. It's just dynamic. It is absolutely next to perfect. There's a few issues I have, and I'm going to pick on those first. This panel here, I mean, it looks to me like that floor is way too small for those figures. It should be much bigger, unless that is one of the smallest office building floor spaces I've ever seen. So I think his proportions are off just a bit there. Frankie Ray looks absolutely amazing. Look at the sheen and the shine on her costume here. Very good. That's Sue Storm. He does faces so well. Notice how they're different. They emote. The startling look here, the tired look here, incredible. And look at that right there. Again, she's confused, and that comes through. His emotion comes through so well in his panels. And guys, one thing I wanted to state is that, and one of my bugaboos is in comics is that the art has to tell a story even without thought or word balloons or interludes or anything like that. And Byrne does a really good job of that. Even if you didn't know, even if you couldn't read what's going on, he tells you the story with his pictures. Okay. And again, the panel layouts are very well done. The positions of the characters are done. Look at this here. You see a very worried Galactus, head tilted forward, kind of slumped in that chair. Not that power position, not that confidence that we usually see in him, because he's weakened, and that comes through. I don't think too many people could have pulled this off, but Byrne. Look at the eyes there, and the Terax. That's it. That's like the irises there. Just excellent stuff. Really good imagery. Honestly, there's a few little nitpicks. The only reason I don't give this a 5, look at the action, the power coming out of there, with the very light shined Galactus there. The only reason I don't give this a 5 is because I disagree with Dave here. I think some of his stuff in the Uncanny X-Men is even better than this, because I think Austin did even a little better job inking him, gave him a little bit more stability, just a little bit more of a The poses were just a little bit more dynamic and a little bit tighter. But other than that, there is just nothing here to complain about. We're nitpicking this to death, but this is great art, guys. Any way you slice it, 4.5, and just on the cusp of a 5 for me.
All right. Just on the cusp. So everybody on our panel here seems to be pretty happy with the interior art, except for the one little thing, the one person that doesn't always belong. That's okay. We're going to move along to the story part of our.
Yeah, and it's not you this time, surprisingly.
Oh yeah. We're not going to move along to the story part. We're going to do the chat. Man, where was my head at tonight? Forgetting about the chat, the most important grader of all. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to be trying to push by you there. So now it's your turn. Tell us how you feel about the interior art. We were able to hold up some of the comic panels and show everybody the interior art. A lot of you guys, from what you're saying in the chat, seem to be quite familiar with Vern's work already. So please give us your grade, give us your opinion. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Is it a yay, a nay? Tell us now in the chat, please. We get 5s, 4 and 5s. Look at them all coming.
Yeah, they're coming. They're coming hot and heavy, guys. Hot and heavy.
Oh yeah.
This is going to be our highest scoring interior yet, I'm sure.
Silver Age Dave says what Metarog said. Hey, it's great to see Silver Age Dave. I think this is either his first time or it has been a long time since he's been here. So it's great to have Dave in the chat. I know that he's a busy man, so we're honored to have you here, Dave. Who else came in?
Silver Age and Slapdragon. We have two YouTube comic royalty in the chat.
Two legends of YouTube right there. And Steve Whiting also came in, by the way. So let's.
You guys are doing a great job keeping on top of that chat.
And,
well,
we learned, Metarog vocabulary, and I learned for the first time a new word in Metarog's vocabulary: bugaboo.
Bugaboo.
We found out one of his bugaboos in comics. Very interesting. You learn something every day.
I do use slang or colloquialisms every once in a while, Kenny. I do use them. I generally do not fall back on them, but every once in a while they just feel right. You know what I mean? They just do. All right. Okay. You ready? We have enough time, Dave? You think we're ready?
I think we probably have enough people doing enough voting in there.
All right. I think Jason is right. He jumped the gun. I don't think we even finished my part before he put it. Yeah. Heroes to Icons 4.5. Gray Man comes in with a 4. Slapdragon comes in with a 5, and he's still saying there's nothing wrong with that cover. He's coming in with a 5. Simeon, I knew it. 5. Ben Compton 5. Steve Whiting 4.5. Chad 4.5. Silver Age Dave, I guess what I said, which is 4.5. Hialeah 4.5. Hey, we finally have a good grade from Hialeah. All right. Javi is saying 4.5. Biggie Shack, not too impressed, 3. Rayman says 4. Goat99, welcome, 4.5. Is Bugaboo like a bugbear? Not really.
We playing D&D now or what?
We're playing D&D, yeah. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Another strong.
Grayman says, "Hey, Raj, no grade shaming." Okay, Gray. Okay, I'm sorry.
You discourage discussion when you shame people.
Oh, I don't think so. I think they all know this is all in good fun.
Metarog he's vicious, man. He'll tear you apart.
Believe me, I get shamed all the time, and I love it. I mean, I just think if everybody agreed with me, this would be a terrible place to live in.
I'm glad you like it, because it's not that hard to do.
Yeah. You can see, right there you go. Proof is in the pudding.
We only tease it because we like it.
Well, then you must like me a lot, man, because I feel in it. Okay. You ready, Kenny?
We have the total grade came to 4.1, which gives it a 4. We got a 4 from the chat.
Nice.
Man, with all those fives popping in there.
Nice. Yeah, but
Yeah,
there was a
people
threes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some people
that
are-
drags it down.
It would have been
drags
4.5, like I said, if it wasn't for a certain YouTube comic champion lowering the grade.
Uh-oh. I got a feeling I know who that is. I got a
Yeah.
feeling I know that's a show that you're on tomorrow, I do believe.
Yeah.
You going on that show tomorrow, Kenny? We'll talk about that.
Yeah. The Mega
Kenny's on
Powers.
every
If
night.
my
Kenny's on every night. Come on.
Oh, of course he is.
yeah,
All right.
and you would against my better judgment with this lousy connection, I would not be. But you can't hold me down.
It's not the connection, it's the computer.
It's your computer.
All right.
Yeah,
Moving
computer.
along, we're going to take a look at our story. How did it measure up? Is it Shakespeare? Is it Pulp Fiction trash? Going to start this one off with the scholarly gentleman who loves to read, and that is Mr. Genome. Please tell us, how did you feel about the story, sir?
Well, the story. Now, this is where things start picking up for me. The story starts off kind of simplistic, but it also starts off with some mystery. It's like, what just sheared the Baxter Building? Or I can't remember if they said it was the World or Empire State Building or the Baxter Building, but one of the two. Who sheared it in half, and why is Sue Storm laying there? It's like, is everyone dead? So it kind of grabs you right from the get-go. So it just starts off with a bang and you careen onward. And once again, this reminds me of Crisis. This is pre-Crisis stuff. It's just, you see this like possibly world-ending event like in the first couple of pages, and it's like, okay, I'm going to keep reading now for sure to see what's going on. But the story flows well. It's not overly long, but one of the few problems I have, I'll get with the nitpick first, is it's kind of stiff. The writing's a little bit stiff. People describing what they're going to do. I know they got to do that a lot, but you don't have to say, I'm going to be moving this brick to throw at him. Just move it and throw it, whatever. It's that kind of thing. And people speaking, that's kind of the product of the time too. A lot of the comic books had characters speaking like that back then. So that some of the dialogue's a little bit forced, but other than that, the story's just great, man. You're introducing this cosmic level menace that we haven't really seen a whole lot of before. You just know he's a big baddie, but you don't know what's going on, and I won't ruin it because other people want to talk too. But basically, you got a conflict between two bad guys here, and Earth's kind of caught in the middle in a way. So that's also a really cool thing. That's not something you see too often. Fun fact: I think this is the last appearance of Terrax into New Mutants #1, which we also reviewed, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. So we get to not to give away too many spoilers, but yeah, so we get to see the demise of a cosmic being, sort of. So at least lower tier cosmic level. But yeah, it just moves, man. It introduced a great villain who is normally way too powerful for the heroes on Earth, but he's in a weakened state. But you can still see he's lethal. He's not to be trifled with. So I know it's just so cool. It sets up the fight in a great way because you don't really know what Galactus is going to do. Is he a hero? Is he a bad guy? He's always been an ambivalent kind of character anyway. He's beyond good and evil, but I don't know, it's set up really well, and the climax just makes you want to read the next one. So story's great inside. I give it a 4.0. The only thing that knocked it down a little bit was some of the dialogue is a little bit corny, but other than that, just great.
Nice.
That's well, right. Thank you, David. Corny story. All right. I'm going to come up next here.
Not corny story, a little bit of corny dialogue, but some of the story was fine. I had no problem at all with the story. Just some of the character dialogue itself was just a little bit corny.
See, now I was the opposite. I thought the story was better, or it was corny, and the dialogue was better. I mean, it's pretty weird that this guy Terrax would come here and just be like, I'm holding a city hostage unless you kill Galactus because I'm more powerful than you are, and so you have to go kill a guy that I'm not powerful enough to do. Like, where's the logic in that? If he's already stronger than they are, why is he sending them to fight for him? Anyway, so Reed Richards basically just logics it out, gets Galactus on his side, and now it's this big bad guy versus everybody, right? So it's not a huge amount of story to it, right? It's like A, B, C, D conclusion, right? That some of the dialogue is the kind of stuff that was, holding me into this comic book. Where is it? You explain color to a person who has been blinded, right? Like that was one of Galactus's lines, and it was just like, that is like awesome, cool, man. When they're talking about snuffing out 1 billion lives, and he's like, I don't care, and he's trying to kind of explain it. And even here, like he kind of goes into a slight bit of his backstory, like, I used to be a mortal man. Should I feel sorrow for everybody I've killed? I've killed 40 times 4 billion. Like he's just trying to convey the vastness of his destruction, and why the hell should he care about Earth? So I like the dialogue that they give Galactus. And I mean, he's talking about here when he says, I used to be a man, the original origin story, which was where he was a being called Galen that gained these powers and then became Galactus. Byrne retcons it in the book that Metarog has up, Galactus, the Origin, and then retcons it again in Galactus, the final Galactus story.
Yep.
And then it gets retconned again by another writer later on. Anyway, story to me is pretty typical, except for the very end when they're like turn around and be like, no, we must save him, right? So that's like Reed Richards and Captain America saying that, of course. And that's a bit of a twist on the whole plot of the book. Story-wise, kind of brought it down for me, but dialogue kind of brought it back up. And I felt it was more than serviceable, and I gave it a 3.5 for the interior story.
Nice.
Down here.
Very nice.
All right. So next, the man that bought it off the rack himself. He had no spoilers the first time he read this story. Roger, please let us know how you feel about the story contained in 233 or 243. Sorry.
Well, Dave, you'll be astonished to know that I agree with a lot of your points. Yes, mark the calendar for this date, right? The dialogue here is really stupendous. There is a lot of it. There's a lot of meat here. There's a lot of certainly a lot of characterization of Galactus here, especially. Like you said, he sort of sets up a lot of that's going to be coming in the future on Galactus, like in Galactus: The Origin, where we find out that he was a man, and that there was almost like a Silver Surfer kind of redo there in a sense. A very, very interesting take, I believe, on him. Although he says that he has no humanity, it gives him just a tinge of humanity, something to relate to. That's why I think this character would be off the chart stupendous in a movie, because he can be relatable much more than Thanos, I believe. But anyway, that's a discussion for another day. Certainly, I think that there are issues here. I mean, there's a few things which are silly and really unnecessary. The whole thing with the Wasp being able to take Galactus down to Earth, or from the building down, that I don't buy that. That's a silly little just a mechanism just to get her into the story and make her feel useful. I mean, Galactus, all he has to do is think about it, and Wasp is a cinder. And then you do have that little interlude, which I thought was kind of cute, with Spider-Man and Daredevil, which I think you mentioned, but you didn't show, and which they sort of, Burns puts them in there, and you're thinking, oh, now they're bringing everybody in that's in Manhattan, but they realize, there's nothing we can do here. This is Galactus. Yeah, Captain America's down there, but he's leading the Avengers, right? But we're just going to get in the way. I thought that was kind of cute and actually well done. And yeah, the philosophical or the moral conundrum at the end, where Captain America and Mr. Fantastic, you would think that a lot of people are saying, well, we can get rid of him, but they know that there's a much bigger end game here than just Galactus dying. That if he died, that the whole balance of the universe would be unhinged. So again, it's a provocative story. It makes you think. It makes you consider, what you would do in that situation. And again, Byrne, I think, is growing as a writer. It's not a perfect story. It has some silly and some corny setups, like the putting the island of Manhattan up, and then nobody knowing about it. Well, if anybody wants to go to New Jersey, I want to see what they're going to think, because there's a force field there. So again, some silly mechanics, but overall, the meat of the story is excellent. A four all day long.
4 for the story. You must be a big Byrne fan, my friend. Anyways, we're gonna go to the 5th grader. That's you, the chat. Please. Where we skip somebody?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we skip you, Kenny. Dude, I'm gonna lose my hosting privileges here. I'm gonna start taking notes for where I am in the show.
Do you have a dinner date or something, Dave, that you wanted to have to get
to? My apologies, Kenny. Sir, the story, everybody's on pins and needles about what you think.
Yeah.
I would have gotten in terrible trouble if I had skipped you, sir. Please let us know, Kenny.
I would have got a ticket.
Feel about the story.
What's that? To Canada to come up and see you, brother. I couldn't talk about this amazing story. Yeah, I agree with some of the stuff that's been said, and I think I disagree with others. Like, overall, I think the general story, I think, is fine. There are a couple of silly moments I get, like raising the New York City is a bit silly, but I feel like that's a fairly small plot point of what we have going on with this tension dynamic between Terrax and Galactus. The Herald is turning on the Master, which I think is pretty cool. The dialogue is top notch. There's a lot of little moments, like when homegirl, I can't remember her name, the fire gal, who
Frankie Ray.
Sue Storm is talking. Yes. When Sue Storm's talking about Galactus, she's like, "Oh, is he real? I thought he was just a myth, And I like that, he's, for people of Earth, they don't necessarily know if Galactus is a real thing or not, which I thought was cool. Sue Storm, as per usual in a lot of these earlier Fantastic Four, even though this isn't that early, but Sue Storm is usually put on the sidelines and is told to make a force field and just stay out of it. So she was doing that this issue. The Galactus dialogue and fleshing out of his character is, for me, what makes this issue like really stand out as good writing. That part where Miracle was talking about Galactus reflecting on, I don't really care if I have to kill off this city. Over all these eons, I've seen billions of people die, and I can't. And he's not even saying it as, it's not portrayed as like him being badass. It's almost like sad. Like, It kind of reminds me of like Watchmen. One aspect of Watchmen with Dr. Manhattan is over time, he forgets how to be a human. He's so detached because he's so all-powerful that he kind of forgets humanity. And that's kind of illustrated here. And look at this part. One part where I was like, oh, was you see Galactus get smacked up, and then you see just a word bubble come out on the page before you turn it. I say thee nay. And you know what time it is then. And you got a great Thor Avengers roll up. Like if that happened in a film, that would be the applause break when the crowd goes, yeah. And it got me really pumped when that came about. Great battle scene. Great little like side kind of the street level guys, Spider-Man and Daredevil. Really good stuff. I'm gonna go 4. You know what? I'm gonna go with what I wrote, and I wrote down 4. I was gonna say 4.5, but I'm gonna say 4.
Pretty solid grade for the story, Kenny.
Nice.
Glad we didn't.
Yeah, I think
That was good insight into the whole story.
Very good insight. Excellent. Excellent.
Actually,
Now,
while we're waiting for grades to tabulate, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
yeah, let's bring in our 5th grader, and then we'll have a little chat while everybody's popping in their grades. All right. So it's up to you, chat. You're the 5th grader and the most important grader. Please give us your opinion of how you feel this story is on a scale of 1 to 5, and do it now. Now, now.
Yeah, the little bit though was kind of off-putting with Daredevil and Spider-Man, which was cool. I liked how they fight. It's like, okay, we're not really a match for this guy, but Spider-Man would have got down in there because there were still like civilians down in there. He would have gotten down there at least save some people or something. So
Yeah, I thought that too. Like,
it seemed a little odd, out of character, because he fights anybody. He fought Thunderball 1-on-1. You know, he fought Titania on Battle World. So he doesn't. Yeah, he'll mix up with the big boy. So that one seemed weird.
This is Galactus, buddy. This is not Titania or Thunderball. All right.
Yeah,
this is Galactus. There was nothing he could do there. Absolutely not. Captain America couldn't do anything physically. He only just led the tactics. But and Wasp was really forced. So I thought it was okay. I thought it was not that bad. Just it sort of puts them in their place. It says this is a whole nother. This is not street crime. This is cosmic stuff. And I think that Spider-Man kind of wants to stay away from that in this situation.
I think it would have been better to leave the two of them out of it completely, because now they wouldn't be having this debate. It was this weird non sequitur moment. It's like, hey, Daredevil, hey, Spider-Man, should we help? No. Okay, on to the rest of the comic book. What? Why? What is the point of this? And I agree with like what Genome was saying. Those two guys would be down street level, maybe not fighting Galactus, but they'd be saving civilians, hurrying people into subway stations or whatever to get shelter away from all of this. They wouldn't just be like, we should have popcorn. So that part of the interior, I was a little bit like, what? Right? Like this was gratuitous. A lot of this book, or not book, or a lot of these little sequitur things, they didn't just make any sense at all. Like in a way, this whole Frankie Ray thing on the roof of the building doesn't make sense. It only makes sense because I read 244.
Yeah,
right?
It makes sense later on. Yeah.
But the Daredevil Spider-Man thing threw me off. I was like, what? Why? Why bother?
And it doesn't mean that they would sit it out necessarily. They're just being vigilant. If anybody did get in the way, Spider-Man would swoop down and get them out of there. But they're not going to tackle Galactus physically. That's absolutely ridiculous. Put him in the
story at all. They just put him in the story.
Yeah, of course. But they are Manhattan heroes, so.
Because there was some dialogue too saying we can't drop the building or can't drop Galactus here because he's going to crush people. So they know there's people down there. So
yeah. And the X-Men, they're in New York, or
Yeah, but they're further out. They're not in Manhattan. I don't think they're out in some other borough.
There's lots of Manhattan heroes.
They could have been out in the Shi'ar throne world at this point. Who knows?
The Hellfire Club's in Queens, right? So where is the X Mansion anyway? Is it in the Hamptons? Where is that?
I don't know where it is. I have no idea.
It's Connecticut.
It's Connecticut. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Oops. Sorry. All right. We got the grades in. We got grades in here. Let's see here. Oh boy, I think we're getting some weird grades here. Hold on. Weird. Yeah. Listen to this. Unruly Simming, 4.5. Great idea. Well executed. The 40s RKO dialogue brings it down half point. Interesting. Slab Dragon, 5. I got a feeling Slab Dragon is 5 everything. All right. Heroes to Icons, 4. Steve Whiting. No, he's saying hi to Chad there. Hialeah, 3.5. Goat, 3.75. Now you see what I mean, guys? Half points, 3.5 and 4. Not 3.75.
Yeah, you tell
him. We'll round up to 4, Kenny. How's that? Okay. Ben Compton, 4.5. The Grey Man, all the way from East London, 3.5. Chad is coming with a 3. Steve Whiting comes in with a 4. And Ray gives it a 4, even though he's never read it. That's perfectly fine. Your opinion counts just as much. Just from what we talked here, you can pick an opinion. And Biggie Shack says he gives it a 3. Biggie Shack is kind of harsh on this book. Javi gives it a 3.5. Mr. Gretzky, how you doing, buddy? 2.5. Boy, Matt has a weird, algorithm here for a grade. 6.75 minus 4.25 plus 2. Kenny, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
2.5. I guess that's 4. We'll give it 4. How's that, Kenny?
Okay. All right.
Man gets 1,000 subs. He starts speaking in riddles. Yep.
I tell you, man. It goes right to people's heads, doesn't it? Just kidding, Matt. We love you. You know we do.
Okay. Man, great chat involvement this episode. I got to say, 13 votes. That's almost everyone that's viewing. Thank you guys. It makes the show fun when everyone gets in the mix. So we got the aggregate grade, brother. It's a 4. The chat agrees with me. I think I'm going to take the new title of Chat Agreement title, Miracle. So watch out.
Me guys did
Miracle's on a slump today.
It's been straight force from the chat today.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the concept of the book. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it weird? Is it typical? Is it exciting? My personal opinion, because I'm going to start off this category, the overall concept of this, like you have the two guys fighting and Earth in the middle. And then you have the one guy that's trying to destroy Earth and the heroes on one side and Earth in the middle. And I mean, this is pretty typical Galactus story that we've seen from Kirby, from other authors beforehand. It's fan pandering, right? Like if you look at a lot of this book, hey, let's put in the Fantastic Four, and let's put in Terrax, and let's put in Galactus, and let's put in the Avengers, and let's put in Doctor Strange, and just for fun, let's have Daredevil and Spider-Man, and put all the Avengers in there and Iron Man, right? It's fan pandering. There's not a lot of meat to the story other than to say, oh, you guys like all these superheroes? Let's have a comic book full of all of them, right? So yeah, the concept has its merits because it's Galactus, and the story is rather I'm trying to limit myself to this issue, not remembering what's going on that's going to be happening in continuing issues or what's happened beforehand. And yeah, so for the overall concept of this book, I thought it was pretty typical, right? Big bad guy fight, everybody come fight big bad guy, right? We see it now even in Avengers Endgame. And it really depends how it's presented, right? Which is where our story kind of differentiates different stuff. But concept-wise, pretty typical. Concept was my lowest mark that I gave this book. And I gave the concept right in the middle at a 2.5. Oh, I didn't even enlarge my screen. Sorry, guys. That's okay.
Wow.
So, like I said, it's just too typical, right? There's no big thing. I mean, there's a little bit of a twist at the end, but I've seen better issues. This is just a straight up fight, right? So the concept overall, to me, is just it could have been better. How did you feel about it, Roger? How do you feel about the concept of this book? Right? Not looking at the story or whatever. We're now just looking pure concept.
Gotcha. Well, I respectfully disagree with some of your points. I mean, some of them are valid. I mean, obviously, yeah, it is pandering to to the public because of the characters. That's what comics do, right? I mean, imagine if it was just Galactus, me, you, and Genome out there fighting them, nobody would buy this comic, So yeah, you want to have characters out there and a character as powerful and as iconic as Galactus you know, generally speaking, I think it's odd if it was just going to be the Fantastic Four. I mean, I would think all hands would be on deck. Even you yourself said, you know, Spider-Man would be in there, right? So, you know, I think the concept is not something groundbreaking, but I think it's appropriate, if that makes sense, right? But you have to look deeper than that. The concept here, to me, goes beyond the actual staging of the battle. We're getting inside the psyche of Galactus. We're learning that he is, you know, he is powerful, but not all powerful. He has weaknesses. You know, he can be defeated. He has the ability to be psychologically challenged, as Doctor Strange did when he gave him like the penance stare aspect, which is what tumbled him down. It wasn't the physical damage, it was the emotional, mental damage. And that's something that really hadn't been explored much with Galactus. You know, that aspect of who he is. And this really expanded what we think of a cosmic entity and sort of brought him down and gave him a scintilla of humanity. Even though he denied it, it was apparent throughout his actions and reactions to that Doctor Strange spell or whatever he did, that Galactus does have humanity. He has caring. He does have morals. He is not a villain in the most, you know, strictest sense. He's more of a force of nature. And that kind of dynamic in the concept, I think, is, although not totally fresh, I think was drive the concept here to make a comic and a story that shows that even the most powerful can be taken down in the right situation and are not just stone totems of unemotional and unable to empathize. Terrax was the opposite of that. You know, he was totally selfish, totally self-absorbed, and he even sent others to do his dirty work because he didn't want to get his hands dirty and he did not want to get defeated. That kind of dynamic, I think, in the concept here was, I think, very well done. So although I don't think it's anything totally groundbreaking, I think that the concept is solid and it leads to a story in the future, which, again, the subplot is part of the concept, which is one of the best stories I've ever written. I'm not going to say anything about it right now, but it's coming soon in Fantastic Four at this point. So to me, the concept is a 4.5.
4.5. Man, you certainly got your chatty shoes on tonight, Roger.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. The turkey he gobbled about 2 minutes ago.
Oh,
anyway,
I apologize.
I'm teasing. You talk as long as you like. The turkey's just a guideline. Anyway, 4.5 for the overall concept. This is obviously shaping up to a book that you're a big fan of. We're going to move along and we're going to see how Kenny feels about the overall concept of this book. Kenneth? Kenny?
Yes.
Ken Man, tell us, how do you feel about this book?
Okay, or macho, because I'm getting subconscious on my glitchiness on the screen, and since we're talking concept, I feel like I don't have to show anything to accompany my thoughts here. But I think I almost want to pull what someone in the chat said earlier what Metarog said to a large extent. I think in his disagreement with Miracle's points, I'm there with you on that. I think that with a big bad like Galactus, it makes sense that you're gonna have to squad up. I don't think all that many characters showed up other than the 4. 5 members of the Avengers, and they only showed up for the last few pages. I think the purpose of this was to shoehorn in characters. I think the concept is different looking at this issue than previous books we have, because we usually look at like these milestone books, issue number 1s and things, and on those books we're looking at concept more from what's their goal overall for this run, when we're looking at concept, and we're in here looking at an issue in the middle of a run. So we're kind of looking at what's their goal more for this issue. And I would think when Byrne sat down and kind of plotted out this story, I think his main drive wasn't let's make a big bad team up book. I think it was, hey, let's get into the head of Galactus. Let's dig into this guy a little bit more and make him a more well-rounded character, more understandable, because that's what I think the bulk of this issue spends its time on is Galactus. What's going on in Galactus's head? Does have vulnerabilities, and I think it was great, man. I think they did a good job with that. So I would say the concept of this issue, I'm going to land on a 4 with it. Thought it was really solid. I thought it actually broke the norm of your normal, a big bad wants to destroy the world, and we've got to team up to beat him. I thought this kind of subverts that a little bit. It made you empathize for the bad guy versus let's chop his head off. So, yeah, for that, I give it a 4.
4.
Well done.
Solid grade on concept from Kenny. All right. So this time, Genome, did we go through you already, or did I start this one? No, I started this one. David, Genome Presents. Your turn to tell us the concept of all of this. We won't skip you, regardless of what the chat wanted me to do. We'll still let you talk. Tell us how you feel about the overall concept.
Well, the concept is pretty simple, actually. You got two guys that are going to destroy the planet, so who's going to be allowed to do it, you know? I mean, that's kind of what it seems like to me. It's a weird kind of superhero mashup, in a way, you know, to fight the cosmic entity that is Galactus. And also of note, it's really weird that the few Avengers that show up seem to do all the work. For a Fantastic Four book, they don't seem to do much, actually, other than talk. I know the Thing gets a knockout blow at the end, but he was already going down anyway at this point, it looked like. So, I mean, as Metarog said earlier, I mean, the Wasp is freaking doing damage to Galactus. So at that point, you know, it's anybody's game. But I don't know, it's simplistic, but at the same time, it also does a lot of character building into what was once a pretty mysterious character in Galactus, because we didn't know a ton about him, you know. What was his old tagline? He was born before the universe or whatever. He's the last survivor of the previous universe. And that's about all you knew about him, you know, and he eats worlds. So now we do find out that he's eaten so many worlds that, yeah, it doesn't really affect him anymore, but it kind of does, because, you know, the spell that Doctor Strange casts on him, the penance stare, it affected him hard. I mean, he was already in trouble with energy, his energy waning, but I don't know. It was cool that they actually gave some depth to the character. Terax was, and I believe it was Mr. Miracle who pointed this out. It does seem a little ephemeral. Why would he go, if he thought he was so powerful, why would he go collect Earth's heroes and just a few of them to go attack a Galactus? I mean, I don't get, unless he was trying to use them to gauge how strong Galactus actually was at that point. But I don't know. It was just it was a superhero team matchup with a big bad villain we didn't see too much of before, and they probably figured, well, let's go ahead and we're going to use him more in the future, so let's get him out there and give him a little backstory, you know, give him a little motivation. So I don't know. I think it's basically the whole concept of this book was just to flesh out Galactus, really, and everybody else was just kind of there for window dressing, you know. Someone's got to beat them, right? So actually, they beat everybody. They beat both the bad guys. They're both the world enders. So yeah, I think it's just the concept of Galactus building. So it's still solid, though. It's really cool to see the motivations of something that's so much higher in the power level than everybody else. You know, he's equal to a Celestial, basically. So yeah, he's beyond most people's ken, as it were. But yeah, solid concept. I give that a 4 for sure. Much better than serviceable.
Very nice.
All right. Coming from the misinformed, a 4. Interesting grades all around from all of our graders. But the most interesting grade of all is yours out there in the chat. So we would like to ask you, how do you feel about the overall concept of this book out of 5, please? Vote now or give us your opinion now. Or don't.
Oh, and by the way, at the end, make sure everyone hangs out, because I'm going to introduce something a little bit new to the show. It might be just a one-time thing, but it'll be for the next show. So make sure to stay tuned.
Ooh, and you got stuff that you're not even telling us.
Oh,
Yep.
Another curveball. Maybe this is more like a split finger. Yeah.
The element of surprise is key. Any tactician will tell you this.
Slider. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know how you guys can think that the concept is any different than a lot of stuff like that's been before it or it's going to be after it.
Well, let's put it like this. most of the time Marvel's really bad about developing villains. So what do you know about Red Skull? He worked for Hitler and he was evil. He didn't like people. You had no real backstory on him. For the longest time, you didn't have a backstory on Magneto, you know? So they were just bad guys because they were bad. In this one, we find out a little bit more about what makes Galactus tick at the very least. He says it's stuff like that in Secret Wars too. You know, it's like he wants that hunger to be gone. He's tired of eating plants to survive. But I don't know. I like how they fleshed him out a little bit.
You have not read, obviously, Thor 164, 165, 168, and 169, which is the origin story, as well as that book that's in Roger's screen there, Galactus, the Origin, and the Last Galactus story. You have to read the Last Galactus story, which comes out in 1985, a couple years after this book, 3 years after this book. And rumor is, and I just kind of read this while I was kind of doing some research on this book, that IDW is going to publish a trade paperback with the Last Galactus story, and they're trying to contract her to finish it, to do the last story. It was published in Epic Comics, but it never got finished. Now, I don't think it's a green light yet on that, but I know that they're in talks to it. And that was, about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I heard that.
That would be, well, to use the same word, epic. There he is. There's an Epic Illustrated right there. Kenny's holding up.
Man, the Last Galactus story is one of my favorite Galactus stories.
I was so bummed that was not finished. I mean,
I know.
So good. So good.
I've read the synopsis of what Byrne was going to do, but it's not the same as seeing the issue, you know.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. I didn't even read the synopsis. Like really I don't want to know about it. But yeah, I think, you know, like, you know, opinions differ, Dave, and you have a certain perspective, and we have ours, obviously. And
I'm right.
But yeah, you're right, and I'm wrong, right? But
let me with the last story, Galactus in it though. You're more following the female Nova character, so I was really amped to read it, and I think the second half would probably prove to be like the real exciting part. But yeah, I was like, hey, where's Galactus? Because he doesn't really appear much in that particular, the first half of the story.
Yeah, it's her perspective mostly. Yeah, true. All right, you ready? I'm not going to keep going here because we'll be here all night.
I'm ready.
Yeah, we'll agree to disagree, Dave. Here we go. I think Gray Man was first here. You ready, Kenny? Okay. 3.5 with the Gray Man. Biggie Shack 3. He's very consistent, just middle of the road here. Steve Whiting 3.5. Unruly Simeon, shocker 5. Goat 99 3.5. Rayman 3.5. Jason Heroes for Icon 4. Conquistadorks 3. Ben Compton with a strong 5. Nice. Hialeah Comic Bro with a 3. Sounds like a one shot the way it was written. Okay, here comes Matt with his you know, algebra here. 1 point. That looks like a 3 to me. Jeez. Matt, man, could you just put like one numeral? That's all I'm asking. Just one numeral, okay? Oh man. Hydra 5.5. Okay, Hydra. We stop at 5, so I'm gonna give it a 5, all right? Oh boy. And I think that's it. We have some great guys in here, but boy, they could make things life easier on us, you know what I mean? Oh, I'm sorry. That was my dog. I stepped on her.
Stepping on your dog.
Yeah, she starts like getting like on you when she hears thunder, and I stepped on her by mistake. You're okay.
Damn, Dave, you pissed him off so bad he kicked his dog.
No way.
She's okay. She's okay.
Don't take it out on the dog.
No, it was an accident, guys. An accident. She's okay.
You guys having a thunderstorm?
Yeah.
Tally comes to a 4. From the chat. Unsurprisingly, my streak continued. And I think they went 4 across the board the whole episode. Do you know?
Yep, it's been 4 every one so far.
Wow, very consistent. Wow, cool.
That's basically how I voted, except art, I gave it a 4.5. But other than that, I gave it 4.
All right. 4 is a pretty solid mark from our chat out there. Pretty solid marks all around for this book in all categories so far. Now here we are approaching our last category. The overall of this book. Putting it all together. Does it work together? Is it a mismatch? Is it in a washing machine or is it in a cake? Right? Are we mixing it up or are we having some nice smooth stories here? It's all about how everything works together. Does the art, does the story, does the concept, does the inking, does the cover, overall. And tonight we're going to start where we're going to finish where we started, and we're going to start with Mr. Metarog. Finish with Mr. Metarog. Man, I'm just tongue-tied this morning.
It's evening, by the way.
This morning.
Oh, wow. Wow, man. I'm going to lay off. All right. Metarog, just go ahead and tell us how you felt about the overall of this book. Just get
All right, Dave. All right, Dave. We'll give you a break today. All right. We know that you're you're not quite yourself tonight. All right, no problem. Well, let me say that first of all, great pick, buddy. I just want to say that right off the bat. I love revisiting these kinds of issues that were in my heyday. So thank you very much for that. Cover, I think I'm going to just go right down and then I'll give you my last one. Cover, I think we beat this thing to death. Very nice. Has some little problems, little issues, but overall it relates the story. It gives you the characters. It gives you a portent of things to come. Very well done. Very well drawn. Very tight pencils. Colors, dynamic. Work for all day long. The story, again, has some issues, has some little silly parts. The island being going up and the people not knowing about it. A couple characters which are kind of just hanging around for, kind of dressing. The Wasp just sort of shoehorned in there. And I guess I'm getting your point with the Daredevil and Spider-Man 2. But overall, the dialogue is just stupendous. Absolutely a 5 on the dialogue. Just hit it right on the nose. The characterization of Galactus, so well done. We learned so much. It's so in depth. We have so many angles going on, subplots that are going through. Just excellent. But again, the issues around it were too distracting for. Art, stupendous. Absolutely, very little to really criticize here. The synergy of the art and the writing, excellent. The panel layout, fabulous. The perspectives, really good. The anatomy, of course, top notch. Very, very little to complain about here. A little bit off there as far as the comparison of size, and that a few panels is off, but very little to criticize. 4.5. Concept, again, off the charts. I just talked about it. We get Galactus. This is really a Galactus issue. We get to see just a little sliver of what he is, of the angst that he goes through, and that he does suffer if he actually thinks about it. If somebody actually brings it to mind and can bring that out of him, that's his Achilles heel. The guilt that he feels and he suppresses. Very well done. Just an excellent concept of bringing out things that we didn't know about Galactus and never knew that we wanted to know. When that tells me that the concept is well done with all the characters going there. Again, when the world is at issue, it's just like Game 7 of the World Series. Everybody plays until they just drop, right? So I think the concept was really well done. Overall, man, I am right in the middle between a 4 and a 4.5. I want to give this a 4.5 so bad, but I think that comparing to the later issues coming in Byrne's run that were just so off the charts good, I have to just dial it down a little bit, Dave, and give this a 4 overall.
That's dialing it down, 4?
That's dialing it down for me, sir. Yes.
All right. Yeah, I like to tease Roger because he's a good guy and all. Moving right along to our next grader, the infamous macho head, comic head, Kenny, brother.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the overall of this book in this particular issue?
overall, I think we have a very solid issue of Fantastic Four in our hands here. A very solid comic. I mean, this is high level comic books. It's among the best you're gonna get. And I usually am more of a fan of like the grounded stuff, like Batman, uh, Punisher type stuff, Daredevil. I tend to get most invested in those kind of stories. And for me to get invested in cosmic stuff, it has to be done well. Um, that's what this is. And I think Galactus and Silver Surfer is my favorite cosmic characters. I think they're really well done and interesting. And anyway, so overall, this is, up my alley overall. The cover itself is probably, when I look at it, even though I gave consistent grades throughout, the cover was probably the weakest point. Not Byrne's best, but a really solid outing. The interior art is just really solid. I think we did another Byrne book in this. Was it Crisis? Was that Byrne?
No,
No,
that
She-Hulk.
That was Perez.
She-Hulk.
Perez.
She-Hulk.
Yeah.
She-Hulk. Yeah. Whenever Byrne's going to come up, it's going to be high marks on the interior art. The storyline was great, as I touched on before. I thought we're really dealing with a Galactus story here. Good concept, solid. So I'll keep it straight to the point and say I agree with the chat on this one. I think 4. I think this book ranks at a 4 overall.
A very strong, solid 4 from Comic Head for the overall chat.
Very nice.
And now, or for the overall concept or of this book.
Overall, yeah.
I'm gonna make it through this show. I promise. I'm gonna do it eventually. We'll get you guys won't have to hear me stumble over my words all day. Anyways, moving right along, a very important person in his own mind, Mr. Genome. How did you feel about the overall of this book?
First off, get it right. It's legend in my own mind, by the way. So,
Oh boy,
this was a pretty good issue, actually. I was a little bit nonplussed by the art a little bit. I liked Byrne's X-Men run a lot better as far as his artwork goes. So the artwork actually got lower scores for me than everything else in the book. The cover, I came in with a 2.5. It just smacks of a little bit of laziness not having a background. I'm not sure what they were going for in that, either just to make Galactus pop more, but even that could have been good with like the sun or something in the background. He could have been against the sun or something because they're out in space or whatever. So yeah, that got kind of a lower score for me. Actually, the lowest score of the book was the cover. The interior art was an improvement. I gave that one a 3. Solid throughout. Other than a few really good panels, most of them were actually larger panels too that were my favorites. Most of them it didn't jump at me too much, but there was a good sense of depth and pretty good detail, even on the faraway shots. For the story, I gave that a 4. I just kind of, I don't know, I dug it. I got to learn a little more. I mean, not now, but I mean, I got a little more at the time if I read it, time period specific, about the character, about the bad guy, learn about what's motivating him. And I mean, the secondary villain wasn't too good. His motivations are kind of unclear, other than just wanting to fight Galactus. Was he going to take over the world afterwards? What was Terex going to do when he beat Galactus? But I still gave it a 4. For the concept, I gave that a 4 as well. Anytime you put a bunch of superhero teams together, usually decent things happen in books. So, but once again, this is more of a Galactus book, so which I kind of dig. It's nice when Marvel will spend a lot more time on a villain and give him some backstory, not just on the heroes. So, my overall aggregate on this was actually a 3.5, and I think I'll stick with that. Better than average in basically every category except for maybe the cover. And I don't know, just an enjoyable read. Makes you want to read the next one. So, I mean, you have a good villain. You got lots of good characters around him to fight said villain. So what more do you want? Sometimes simplistic is best, but it wasn't completely simplistic. There were some other things going on here. A little bit of nuance to be had. But outside of a few missteps, yeah, I give it a solid 3.5.
3.5 from Genome. That's a pretty solid score, sir, for the overall. Surprising on that one. All right. Now, personally, the overall of this book, like I said, John Byrne, he was at the height of his career at this point, right? He had just come off of that really hot run, X-Men, the Uncanny X-Men that he had done with Chris Claremont. They gave him the Fantastic Four. He's about a year into it by this time, but the Fantastic Four comes out. Byrne has been on it for about a year. Finally, he hits on his Galactus story, and I do believe this is the first Galactus story that he wrote himself. And I know he was involved in the drawing of a few, but this book is the first Galactus story he wrote. Now, I might be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that this is the first Galactus story. So he said the white cover meat wasn't my favorite. The interior art, fantastic. The dialogue, loved it, but the story itself and the overall concept of the book itself, yeah, it's pretty typical, right? And so, knowing what I know is coming in this book, right? This is number 244. I like the cover of this book better. And I know where Byrne ends up going with this overall story. I'm trying to like stop here at 243. And for me, giving it an overall score, I thought of about 3.5. Little bit of a bump for the fantastic interior art and the superb cheesy Galactus dialogue that I love, and a little bit off for lacking on the cover, and a little bit on just being a pretty typical concept. I would have thought that, Byrne would have wanted to lay it a bit on the line, being his first Galactus story out there. But I'm not the one writing it. He probably had a lot on his plate, writing, inking, doing the cover, doing the interior art, doing it all, right? So yeah, I'll stick with my 3.5 for an overall grade. Fantastic Four, 243, 1982.
Did we actually agree on a grade?
I think we hit one.
Kind of buy a loud ticket.
I took it down for different reasons than you did.
Yeah, we were like actually on the total opposite ends of the spectrum. Like I was hitting the art, dinging the art, and you were actually praising the art, and I was kind of hitting the story heavier, and you were dinging the story. So
The apocalypse is upon us.
So now, the final grader, the best grader, the ultimate grader, the 17 people in the chat grader. Tell us, how did you feel about the overall of this book? Did it fit into your mold? Was it something you thought, you know what, I'm a pass even collecting this into my Fantastic Four collection? Let us know in the chat. Give us a vote out of 5, and please do it now. Awesome.
I will say this: if we do take the aggregate, it's going to be pretty easy. It's going to be a 4.
It's going to be a 4, yeah. Yeah.
Because all the other scores were 4s.
Yeah. I think this is going to be an easy one to unless, but they have the option, of course, to change it based on, stressing on something or other different, because everybody has their own personal kind of niches that they look for. But we'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Miracle's artwork in the background there, especially that Silver Surfer piece, man. That came out so good, dude. It looks great on camera.
Yeah, I saw it on Instagram.
More of a tilt
off the charts good.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Kenny. Yeah, I like the Iron Man. This Iron Man's going to go to my daughter. She wanted that one. I got a Spider-Man that works. I'll fit Spider-Man in there. Spider-Man is for my niece.
Nice.
Anyways, if you guys watch my videos, you'll know I recommended this video, or this one this week, which is the next in the series, the Fantastic Four series, 244, because that's where Frankie Ray becomes the Herald of Galactus, right? So I keep saying I know it's coming because I had this book out, I read it, so now I'm kind of reading them in backwards order. It's a little bit weird, but it is one of the best comic runs of the 80s. Byrne's, 230 to 290 of Fantastic Four is just, he goes wild with some of it, and you can tell that his writing gets a lot better. Right?
It does, yeah. Yeah, this is kind of like he's still kind of growing into the characters here. He's getting a much better handle. A year down the road, that is the pinnacle to me of Byrne.
B2. Yeah, it's an amazing story about a year from now. And maybe he got a little bit of lessons working with Chris Claremont, who's such a good writer. And but I think he has his own writing style. He definitely doesn't steal Chris's writing style. He has his own writing style. No. But in about a year, man, the set of books that comes out, this Fantastic Four run, like I said, between number 232, I think is where he took over, to about 290. Amazing. If you bought comics back then, you would have loved it. I love the Fantastic.
That was the first book I read when I got home. Fantastic Four, and then after that probably would be like the team books. Avengers, Defenders. Those were my first kind of reads when I got home.
Was Franklin Richards kind of conceived around Byrne's run?
No, he's way back.
No, I mean the cosmic Franklin Richards, though.
Oh,
yes.
Yes, he did. He was correct. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, not actual conception itself. I mean, just actually his character.
When you said conception, growing. I thought when he was born, right?
Should be only in about 3 or 4 months from this issue that things start heating up for Franklin.
Yeah, he gets. Of course, the seeds of that go back to even the early Bronze Age, but Byrne, really flushes out that he is one of the most powerful beings at that point.
And then talk about fair play later down the road when the Herald or the Galactus becomes the Herald or whatever. But
couple things I wanted to say in the chat. Hey guys,
how's the grade?
This is something we do that if you're not subscribed to anybody in this chat, please hit their icon, sub them up, give them a chance, because they're here supporting us, and we want to be able to give them a chance to grow their channel as well. So let's support everybody who supports us here on Graders Notes. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
How'd the grades go?
Good call, man.
Oh. The grades. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry. I get community minded sometimes. All right, here we go. Gray Man 3.5. Did the turkey die? Steve Whiting 4. Wow. Oh, Heroes to Icons all around 5. Excellent, Jason. Matt comes in with a 4. Thank you for not having a formula. Thank you very much, Matt. Goat 99 3.5. Let's see. Immortal Biggie Shack, a 3. Okay, good, a 3. Conquistadorks, Javi, overall a 4. Ray comes in with a 4. Dave Enrique, Dave, you joined us late. Good to have you here, buddy. 4.5. This is the cornerstone of Byrne's run. Well, it's getting to the cornerstone. Yeah. Interior art did it for me. Galactus is cool. He's not my favorite, but he's cool. Cover is okay. I think it's white because the text they put works better. Good point. I like 252 better. Okay. Well, hold on. Did Conquistadorks, didn't he already put a grade? Yeah, 4. I'm sorry, Kenny. I'm going back and forth here. And that's okay. Chad comes in with a 4.
Hey, Chad.
While he's tabulating, I will say that 244 probably get a 5 for the cover on me. That's just incredible looking right there.
Yep.
And I'll let you guys. It's the total of the votes was 39.5, and it's going to be divided by 10 votes. So that's a 4, brother.
That's a 4.
That's a 4 overall.
The stats don't lie.
That's a 4.
Yeah, all the way across the whole chat today.
I think that's fair. I think that is absolutely fair. I mean, you look at my grade, not because it agrees with me. I'm just saying when you look at the individual components, there's really not a weak one, and there's not one that's off the charts, except perhaps the interior art. So I think that's fair.
Yeah.
There's nothing in here that's awful. There's nothing.
No.
Nothing in here that's awful.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of judging this book on Byrne's other work, right? Like, can't judge this kind of comic book on Todd McFarlane's work, because this book is so much better than anything Todd McFarlane ever touched.
Don't get me started.
We got to get a McFarlane book in here. Then we gotta do that.
right?
I
But
don't soil my collection with Big Farm books. No. I do like his Hobgoblin, though. I do like that.
anyone
We're
started
in agreement.
But when I look at a book like this, I got to judge it against other artwork that I've seen John Byrne do. And that cover, although very technically sound, I've seen some really, really stunning covers from John Byrne in my day.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. All right, guys, what's up?
Yeah, so let's close her up, I guess. I guess over on the Comic Core channel tonight, JB and Bear Island are going to have themselves a little unboxing in a few minutes.
Yep.
So we'll close up here and let everybody in our chat go over to their chat, which is going to be a fun one. Like I said, it's on the Comic Core channel. It'll be right here at the top of the hour. So quickly, Kenny, do you got anything going on this week?
I would just shout out, I'm pretty sure I'm going to link up with Mr. Biggie Shack tomorrow evening for a little Mega Power Hour fun. And and I would check out the Slab Down, comic battles this Sunday on 90MF Comics channel. And lastly, I'd mention the Comic Heads channel, the one that I get to go live on. It's just like my name, Comic Head with a Z. Z because, I got 90s attitude, Comic Heads with a Z. And if you're not subscribed to that, you might want to, because I last night did a stream and I went through all the stuff I picked up at the Boston Fan Expo Con. Lots of sweet pickups there. A channel that I share with my buddy Vasco, a local buddy who lives in the neighborhood, longtime friend who's gotten back into comics. So when he's been putting out videos, he put out a unboxing for a Golden Age, his first Golden Age book. He just dropped that video recently, so earlier today. So show him some support. I'd appreciate it. He's new to the whole community, so make him feel welcome, guys. And that's all I got.
Yeah, I definitely want to make Vasco feel welcome. He's seems like a great guy. I've been watching Comic Head's channel. I did watch that show last night. Pretty amazing books that the both of you guys picked up. I thought you guys picked up some really good picks.
Thanks.
Moving right along, Mr. Genome, do you have anything coming up on your channel this week?
I certainly do. Before I do that, though, because I want to give a chance for chat to actually do the pick, I'm going to have chat pick the book that we're going to do next week. All right. The theme is going to be New Beginnings, #1s. All right. So we won't take too long, but #1 will be Justice for the New Universe series. #2 will be the Legend of Aquaman reboot. This one's from '89, as I recall. And finally, this is one I'm kind of leaning towards. Impact Comics trying to make their way into the comic book field. #1, I'm picking the Comet, but there's lots of other characters you can have. Fly was pretty good too. But one's a little corny, but there's the choices. So put something in the chat what you all like to see, and then I will continue talking about what's going on in the future and wait for the aneurysm to stop in Miracle's head. So yes, pretty exciting stuff coming up on the channel. Motovlogs, of course. More comic reviews coming. But the big news is I got 2 more interviews lined up. Should be taking place next week. The first one will be tied in with my Friday 13th reviews I've been doing lately. And I have Friday 13th Part 5 actress Deborah Voorhees, actually. What a great last name for the series. She plays Tina. Look up her death scene if you like. But she's a very fascinating person. She's a director, writer, producer. She was a reporter for a long time, so she had a pretty good career. And she's actually making a new Friday 13th kind of fan film right now. So cool story career. So that should be interesting.
Nice.
A little more in keeping with what we're doing talk about tonight. I have a storied inker of old, one of the great colorists to the stars, John Beatty. Actually, we'll be interviewing him probably next week sometime.
Nice.
So
Can you show those books?
I have a.
Do you know so the chat knows the option? Yeah.
So we got Justice #1, Legend of Aquaman #1, and the Comet #1. That could be any Impact book, but Comet was my favorite of them. So.
Comic.
You go to the garage sale.
There's always Black Hood too, if you like.
Oh man.
Go to the garage sale.
The Fly. I like The Fly too. He's cool. But they were all. I used to buy those Walden books off the rack. But anyway, yeah. So I'll be talking to Mr. John Beatty. So I have a video on my channel where I tell who is actually going to be interviewing, and if you have a question you want me to ask those guys, put it in the comments in there, and then I will, if I can fit them in, I'll try to ask. So, and I'll say the name of whoever the question was from. So, yep, I think it's a great opportunity to talk to a guy who's been in the business like 40 plus years. So, yep. So that's what I got going on next week.
Exciting stuff. Exciting stuff. I'll definitely be checking out some of those interviews, sir. Oh, who's next? Metarog. You just dropped your contest entry, your contest roundup video today. You got to have more coming up in the next 2 weeks. Obviously, contest roundups every Thursday.
Yep. I also have a contest going on.
I haven't seen like a good history video from you in a while. You always one.
Oh, next week you're gonna like it. You're gonna like next week's. I have I already taped it, in fact, so you're gonna like it. I also have a giveaway going on August 20th on my Tuesday video. Real easy. All you got to do is pick a comic that you want me to hunt for in the convention that I'm going to next month. So if I find yours first, you get it. No questions asked. I also am going to be interviewed by Tony Fett, a YouTube channel, on Saturday night. I'm not really sure about all the specifics, but he told me he wants to interview me, so I said yes, of course. Any exposure I can bring to this community, I will do. And that's pretty much it. Contest roundup and video on Tuesday.
Perfect, Metarog. Sounds good. Definitely enjoy listening to that comic contest roundup every Thursday. Was listening to it today, and I've already entered your contest for myself, and I think a couple of the other Reader's Notes guys might have or should be. Anyway, for me personally,
they're still thinking.
Yeah,
that cover would get a 4.5 from me, Gene.
That's sweet, isn't it? Let me see who did it. I can't remember.
Oh, dude.
Oh, boy.
Anyway,
hey, listen, we're not grading that today, okay?
No, but
those books are part of my childhood. All those Impact comics.
Oh, man.
Don't worry about it.
Boy. Impact fanboys. I love them.
We're going to end this right here. A lot of people are jumping off, going into Comic Core channel to watch the big unboxing match. I'm going to go over there and join that chat as well. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here on Grader's Note this week. We'll be back next time. Did we come up with a consensus for which book it was? David?
Let's see. It's like a lot of, well, it's in between Comic and Aquaman. All right, speak your piece right now. Comet or Aquaman? Which is it, guys? Next 3 answers picks it.
Aquaman.
We technically got 2 votes for Aquaman.
Aquaman.
I think.
Meat hook. We got a meat hook.
Yeah. Meat hook Aquaman.
What do you guys want?
But one of those votes was from Roger, so.
They don't want to make your decisions for you.
Kenny, you read it.
Okay, Aquaman it is. Looks like Aquaman is the choice.
All right.
So, next time.
Next book we'll be reviewing is Legend of Aquaman from 1989.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm not a big fan of those new universe titles.
Yeah, I kind of dodged a bullet with Justice. Justice is pretty harsh. Regardless of that, join us next time on Grader's Notes when we'll be going over Aquaman. And you'll be the 5th grader. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, y'all.
We're done.
We did it.
Keep your pants on. We're still live.